hit the deck here at Bruce Stadium, searching for a bit of lost pride in recent matches. Lydiard at fullback, Ericsson, Jackson, Bell, Bartolo. The skipper is Kenny, who needs a big game. Seal, Laurie, Johnston, Langford, Drake, Barnes, Goodwin the forwards. The Winfield Cup champions at home for the first time in 1991. First round losers. They need some points this afternoon. McDonald at fullback, Martin Meninga, Gale Wood, Daly Stewart the backs. The forwards, Barnhill, Coyne, Gaffey, Lazarus, Walters and Todd. It was the Eels who won their clash last year at the Parramatta Stadium, 17-8. Todd, he's regained his composure. High tackle, we might be without Mark Barnes, we are. He's gone, he won't be back. Parramatta's down to 12. A sensation here. 6.5 minutes into the match. And Barnes, who went high on Gary Coyne. Stewart wants it. Coyne's alongside him. He gets a tremendous pass to Coyne. He won't be stopped. He was too deep, Glenn Lydiard at fullback. He should have been up shorter. And Coyne wasn't really challenged. Celebrations for the Raiders, but a great ball from Ricky Stewart. Stewart takes on the defensive line. There's a gap there on our MMI replay. Drawing in two defenders. Beautiful hands out to Coyne. Now this is about where he should have been tackled, but Lydiard was way back on the try line. Too deep.
Stewart read this to perfection. Now watch the Parramatta defensive line. It doesn't come up as a straight line. They're up in fits in starts. That left that hole for Coyne to run into, and he supported perfectly. Lydiard should have been going forward, not across the try line.
Well, Ricky Stewart here really toyed with the defence. He took his time. He knew he was running at two big guys that couldn't really adjust. Brian Jackson didn't really read the defensive line all that well, didn't come in, and a try to Gary Coyne.
Gary Coyne, the carpenter, picks up his first try of 1991. One of the veterans at 29 on our MMI player profile. The skipper, Mal Meninga, to add the extras. Well, Meninga misses. Unsuccessful. But it is the Raiders with a 4-0 lead over Parramatta. Parramatta back for this restart. 6.5 minutes into this match, the sensation. And Mark Barnes set off for a high tackle.
And again, that raises the question of whether players should be dismissed from the field, whether they should get the yellow card or whether they should be allowed to be replaced and then face the judiciary. On many occasions, we see players who get sent off exonerated.
Very quick call from the referee. I don't think anybody could argue with him.
And I'm not saying there's going to be an exoneration in this case, but if it ever happens, there is an argument to say that players shouldn't be dismissed or are allowed to be replaced, surely.
That's your argument?
It is, yeah. I believe that you should finish the game with 13.
Now, Coyne, the try scorer, out of the 22. Taken strongly. The Parramatta defence up to that try was excellent.
Wayne Pearce, should players be sent from the field or not? What are your thoughts?
Well, I agree that they should be dismissed from the field, but I reckon that there should be a replacement on there to make up the 13. I think teams should finish the match with 13 players intact.
Well, I am from the wrong era. I'm quite happy to stay with 12. I think if you're breaking the rules as blatantly as it's deemed by a referee or a touch judge in situations like that, then you've got to go.
So referees are always right?
No, I didn't say that. You said that. Parramatta bringing it out of their own 22.
That's what I didn't say.
Graham, you're outvoted 2-1.
Thanks, Wayne. Bartolo will play it. You're too big for me. Horro out there for Goodwin, gets it to the 22. Johnston. It's not going to be enough for the forwards just to be head down. They're going to have to get with each other. Plenty of support play. Laurie. Last tackle against Parramatta. Seal. Down from McDonald. But McDonald will leave it, go over the sideline. So a good kick from Martin Seal to get the Eels 10 metres out from the Canberra line. And he was trying to get across there, McDonald, but he wasn't going to play around with it so close to the sideline.
And Peter Sterling couldn't have put that any straighter.
With 12 men facing up to the defending Winfield Cup champs. Stewart. Daly wrapped up just as quickly. Todd.
Horro on the field for Parramatta, and with them down a man, Mick Cronin, he'll really work this interchange rule in the forwards. He'll get maximum benefit out of it today.
Gaffey. Interesting to see how Tim Sheens uses the interchange, especially for a man like Lazarus, who certainly looks wanting to be carrying some extra pounds.
He looks to be a bit overweight. In fact, during the week, Tim Sheens was quoted as saying that the Canberra side appeared to be lacking match fitness. Now, obviously, Parramatta down to 12 men will help them today, but it won't help them prepare for the hard matches they've got coming up in the next few weeks.
Ericsson. Ericsson nearly got clear. Good tackle from Barnhill. Jackson. Straight across the paddock. He was easy meat. Drake. Drake gets over the advantage line well. Gets some support from Horro to take over. Horro up the middle. Here's Seal. Chip and chase knocked down well by McDonald. Now kicked out. Bartolo picks it up beautifully. Bartolo will get a try. Beautiful try from Parramatta. It threatened to break down on them a couple of occasions, but the bounce favoured them in the end. And Bartolo gets the vital try. Drake did well to stand. The MMI replay will show some quick thinking. Horro straight up the middle. Martin Seal shows some skill. McDonald quickly tried to charge it down. It came out wide for Langford, who kicked it well and truly onside Bartolo. Picked it up beautifully. Beat the defence, and he is on his way right under the black dot.
Canberra had plenty of chances to stop this. Their defence broke down back on the quarter line, and it broke down all the way to the try line. Here, Drake popped up a pass amongst plenty of traffic. Horro showed a good step to make the initial break. Now, have a look here at the missed tackles. The kick over the top by Seal, that was fortunate. That was lady luck. Then the kick ahead by Langford. But here, when the ball was fielded, that's a missed tackle, that's another missed tackle, and that's a try.
And Lydiard from in front. They might be down to 12 men, the Parramatta Eels, but they are leading 6-4. They've got numbers out wide. Daly. Daly's got too much pace. Daly gets it to Wood, who has a clear run to the line. And good, cool play from Canberra. They had numbers out wide, and Parramatta opened up. They were drawn in on a couple of plays. And that's the problem when you're down to 12. MMI replay, they were skinny out wide. Ericsson was protecting him behind the line, and the gap opened. Seal was trying to get to Daly. He just grabbed the jumper, and that meant that Ericsson had to come in for a moment, and Wood had an open try line.
There aren't many teams that can stretch the ball from sideline to sideline against modern defences, but Canberra are one of them. Look at the length of those first two passes, and then Daly just skipped on the outside of the peel and sent a beautiful pass on to Wood. He just gave him a gift.
As Billy pointed out, those first two passes got outside 4 players, which means you've got 2 players outside 4 players. That gave them an automatic overlap, even withstanding the 12 men on the field for Parramatta. Once again, another further pass out there to the winger, and Matthew Wood goes over for the try.
It's Matt Wood's first try, 22 years of age, and a New South Wales under-21s rep back in '89. Successful with his first attempt, Meninga. This from a very similar position. Again he's wide. So no joy at all for Mal Meninga, but the Raiders, thanks to 2 tries, lead 8 points to 6 over Parramatta. Seal with the kickoff.
Oh dear.
What you don't do is let them back in again just as quickly. Too much in the kick from Seal. Way too much. Easy 7 or 8 metres over the sideline. And Canberra come back to halfway.
Graham, you get a good feel for the game down here on the sideline, and one thing that's definitely missing from the Parramatta side, I don't know whether it's because Peter Sterling's not there or whatever, but right throughout this match there's been very little talk amongst the players, and that really indicates a drop in confidence, and that's something that they've got to really work on.
Yeah, Brett Kenny captain, Wayne, but he's someone that leads by example rather than by talk, isn't he?
He certainly is. Brett's definitely inspirational, but it's got to be someone's got to take it upon themselves, because it's not in Brett's nature to do much talking. But one of the forwards has got to take it upon themselves to do a lot more yapping, and that would have been Mark Barnes, but he's off the field.
Well, Canberra will have it now. 32 out from the Parramatta line. Stewart. Lazarus. Wide and running strongly. He's got Daly inside him. He finishes up about 6 and 7 metres away from the line. Quick play the ball. Parramatta in real trouble here. Coyne. Short ball, Meninga. Meninga flicks it up inside for Barnhill. Barnhill crashes over. Did he get it down? No. Annesley beautifully positioned. And tremendous cover from Parramatta to get there and get underneath Barnhill. Horrow and also Jackson. He couldn't get it down.
And here you see an example of the worst rule in the game. You do everything right, you get the ball over the try line, but because you don't get it down from the scrum, the opposition gets the feed and the loose head.
So in some respects, that's the reward for Horrow and Jackson, who got there. Now they get a penalty. Back out to halfway. Horrow with the restart for Drake. Drake pops it up for Horrow. He's caused a couple of minor problems up the middle. The Raiders have those penalties, 4-1. Johnston for Kenny, who fumbled. Should have been a pass that I thought Kenny should have hung on to.
But even with 12 men, Parramatta is showing that they can put chinks in Canberra. It's a matter of whether their defence can hold. I doubt it.
They're starting to believe that they've got it out wide. Meninga. Kenny underneath, he beat the tackle. Martin gets a head start, but he was ankle tapped by Bartolo. Right on the 22. Meninga. They'll go wide to try and catch them now. Look at the length of these passes. And there's the gap for Scott Gale. He gets it out to Wood, who will get a double. That's clever play. That is how you play against a 12-man outfit. You make sure you keep dragging them in, and then you say to your wingers, do the rest. Just watch the length of the passes on the MMI replay. Incredibly wide as Daly, who knew that Gale was outside the defence. And then Gale heard the footsteps and sent Wood away to make it 2 tries.
This is Canberra at their best, running them ragged, firing the ball. Look at the length of those passes from sideline to sideline, and any winger in the game would love to play on the end of this back line, and this time it's Scott Gale who serves the ball up to Wood, who does it in a canter.
The Parramatta backline is going to have to cover more miles than Cliffy Young if they want to try and cut this Canberra backline off. They've got to get up there and put pressure on them. They're not going up far enough. Erickson and Jackson went in to take the same attacker, which was football suicide. And once again, Matthew Wood goes over for the try.
Matt Wood gets the try. It'd have to be a little bit quicker than the Cliffy Young shuffle to get in and cut it off, so. None from 3. He can't find the post at all, Meninga. 12-6, Canberra over Parramatta. It's been all the Raiders. Fritz. Last tackle. Stewart. He's bombing out towards the wing. Martin's coming through. Well, they've got the ball. Lydiard didn't climb above anybody. And Darryl McDonald chased the kick from Stewart, plucked it out, and what a great debut he's making here in place of Gary Belcher. He followed up the kick on the MMI replay. Chasing forward, Lydiard. Eyes on the ball, so too McDonald. He climbs just enough, not tackled, leaps ahead and gets a try.
Stewart was given all the time in the world here to set himself for the kick. Look, no pressure at all, but with Ricky Stewart, as always, a towering bomb, and in Glenn Lydiard's defence, he was given no protection.
Well, Canberra here decided to go to the area. They could have run it and probably scored a try as well, but Ricky Stewart puts up a perfectly placed bomb. Darryl McDonald chasing through. It was shades of Gary Belcher here, the way he left the ground, and the try line was his.
Pelcher would have been more than happy with that. Refrigerator mechanic, 21 years of age, and a local, gets a try on debut. Matthew Wood. Well, he's got 2 tries. He's not going to add a goal to that, Wood. And it's all tries for Canberra, 16-6 over Parramatta. Seal. Parramatta really looking forward to this half-time break.
But when you're in this position, you can't just play like losers. You've got to go out there and you've got to force things. You've got to make things happen. Canberra will run you ragged if you let them.
Todd.
You know, there's no shortcut. Wayne, there's no way out for them unless they force it.
No, there's not. They've got to try and put pressure on the Canberra side, but the problem appears to be with Parramatta. To me, they just don't look like they're fit enough. I mean, last year against St George, the last 15, 20 minutes, they fell apart. And speaking to some of their officials in the club there, they feel that they've just got to do a little bit more homework on the fitness side.
I think the minds have gone astray in this one as well. It's really got to be the case where the veterans, Laurie, Kenny, have got to grab this game by the throat, get totally involved right here and now with a couple of minutes left before the break.
No one's saying it's easy, but it's got to be done.
Right now. Seal. To Lydiard to put it over the sideline. They haven't been down here for a long time. The only occasion they picked up a try. Just inside the 22. Greentree to his feet slowly. Bell. Bell threw a dummy. Nearly got through. Kenny trying to keep it alive on the inside. Knocked down by Todd. It'll be 6 more. He was alive to the fact that Kenny had a runner on the inside. Laurie. Making it easy for them in the forwards. Johnston gets it to about 12 metres out and right in front of the post. Right in midfield. Seal. Kenny working to the back line. Jackson gets it out for Bell. 5 metres out and lost in the tackle by Bell, who had something to say to the referee, Annesley. Now MMI replay might tell us why. He would have been called to play it about here, and there was a hand in the tackle from Scott Gale. Again, the hands of the thieves that we keep on catching.
That's it.
Annesley has given a penalty to Parramatta.
And I'll tell you why. Ricky Stewart then tried to draw his attention. Stewart was claiming that the Parramatta backs were inside the 5. Annesley said, "I'll referee the game, thank you very much." That's a penalty.
Penalty that gives the Eels once more a chance. Seal. Kenny will play at 12 out, and quickly. Goodwin changes the direction. Goodwin head down. Goodwin! I thought he was going to reach out. Inches away. Greentree gets it away for Kenny. Kenny tried to keep it up to Lydiard. They lose their chance. They had Canberra in big trouble. And Stewart is clutching at a knee. Scrum to go down without him. So the Raiders with the scrum feed. Gale comes from centre to push Daly back to 5'8". He loses it. There's still time for Parramatta. Seal doesn't get there. They survive another chance, Canberra. What are they trying to do before the break? They lost it from the scrum. Daly gets over the top. No try. Well, what have they ruled? Did that ball get down? Now, time is just about up. There's the siren now, but interesting call. But they'll take the rest. And they'll take the rest with a lead of 10 points, 16-6 over Parramatta. Tremendous clash next week. Canberra and Brisbane. Likely to be our MMI big game next Sunday. Barnhill. Barnhill taken inside the 22. Todd. Parramatta with 12 had to make a lot of tackles. 96, Langford with 14 and Goodwin their best. Walters with 11 and Gaffey 10 out of 72 for Canberra. Coyne. Well, I don't know what Mick Cronin could come up with at half-time. What was said, Wayne?
Well, he obviously feels that Canberra are going to threaten them out wide. He wants his back line to move up and put pressure on the Canberra back line as often as possible and as quickly as possible to try and eliminate that threat. Timmy Sheens, well, he's pretty pleased with his team's performance. He doesn't want them to relax at all, and he wants them to put pressure on the Parramatta side by playing the ball quickly and playing the game at a fast pace.
Here's Parramatta trying to pick up the pace with a quick play of the ball. Bell. 4 interchanges made by Canberra, just the 3 from Parramatta, which is surprising that they were down to 12 men with Barnes being sent off after 6.5 minutes. Horrow. Kenny. Flicking it. Back infield beautifully for Bell. Likewise to Horrow. Seal kept it alive. Johnston through to Goodwin. Goodwin gets it back, but it was a pressure ball. Now Kenny has it. 6 more tackles. Just admit, Canberra are really not finishing them off in defence either.
They're a little bit complacent in defence, Canberra. They're doing some nice things with the football, but when they have to defend, they seem to be leaving the work to the man next to them.
Greentree. Goodwin. Goodwin taken by Coyne. Johnston. Johnson gets an easy 10 metres. Back for Greentree to straighten up. 30 metres out from the Canberra line. Laurie stepping. He finds the going soft up the middle. Not the defence that we're used to from Canberra. Lydiard. Bombing to the in goal. McDonald and Wood get there. They nearly collided. Beautiful bomb put up by Lydiard. And it was Wood who climbed above McDonald to make things safe. Coyne. Gaffey's taken. Walters. Lazarus. Good ball for Daly. Just that extra little bit of class that so many of the Canberra players have to keep this ball alive. Walters broke a couple of tackles, keeps it alive out wide for Gaffey. Gaffey into the open spaces. Meninga on the inside. Meninga under the post. Gaffey through the dummy. He saw that Lydiard was heading for Meninga early, so he hung onto it and picks up a good individual try. Breaking tackles was Steve Walters on the MMI replay. Now good footwork from Gaffey to get to the big open spaces. Meninga positioning himself perfectly. Lydiard in between the two. Well, he's got to go for the ball. He came up with nothing. Gaffey didn't. He got 4 points next to the post.
The break made here by Gaffey, and you can see Canberra's ability to do things when there's nothing on. But just imagine you're David Lydiard right now. What do you do? He decided that he'd go for Meninga. He read it wrong.
Well, Mark Laurie came up here and he was in 2 minds as to whether to take the right or left shoulder. He took the wrong option. Nigel Gaffey into open spaces. He had the fullback, Glenn Lydiard, in 2 minds. He went over for a try that will boost his confidence no ends.
Right next to the post from the labourer. 21 years of age. A big young man. Wood right next to the post. They finally get a goal. Brings a massive roar here at Bruce Stadium as the scoreline gets to 22-6 over Parramatta. The Eels in a mile of trouble now. They should have made it count just before the half-time break when they were the ones that should have probably found 4 or 6, Bill.
Had a couple of chances, and Canberra are a side that when they get their chances, they take them, and you've got to repay them in kind when you get yours.
Todd. 14 missed tackles against Parramatta. A lot of those tired ones. 12 men trying to make up for 13. Wood! He stood up Ericsson. Gets away from Bell. Big Glenn Lazarus is inside. Lazarus and Ericsson. Lazarus did so well to get there in support. Stewart with a pass out wide that will end up in a try for Martin. Now, Bell just said it, and that was the way you do it. When you get an opportunity, you finish it off just like that. From one side of the field to the other. And it's the passing once more. On the MMI replay, Stewart trying to bring the defence towards him. And then that pass way out wide. McDonald into the line. Quickly he handed it out to Martin, who finished it off into the corner and improved the position.
The Parramatta defence totally shot to pieces. They were still coming back in the defensive line, and Ricky Stewart read that to perfection. There aren't many players that can throw a ball that far with such pinpoint accuracy. Finally on to Martin, and he decides that it's his turn to get one on the right flank.
Well, the Parramatta defence showing signs of wear and tear here and fatigue. So the Canberra side, in particular, Ricky Stewart says, we'll have a game of touch football here. So he throws a big long leaping pass out to McDonald. McDonald quickly offloads onto Paul Martin, and that's a basic try. In fact, quite a simple try.
They put on 2 tries in 5 minutes in the first half. Now it's 2 tries in 2.5. And Paul Martin gets a try, former state rep. And Matt Wood, 1 from 2 for him. He's only about 6 or 7 metres in from the sideline. They do have goal-kicking problems down here in the nation's capital, but not with this scoreline thanks to the tries, 26-6. Daly gets it for Stewart, and the markers for Meninga out wide. Meninga, he'll score. It is so difficult to defend a situation against a side as good as this from midfield. Play opens right up, and Meninga enjoys the spoils of it. Stewart got it out. Daly on the MMI replay was looking for him to get around quickly. Regathered from a fumble, and he put Meninga away. Horrow was trying to get there to hang on, but he was brushed aside by this man Mountain, and very easily to the corner for a try.
There wasn't a lot they could do about this, but have a look at some of the skills. Daly brought Kenny in. Kenny knew what was on, but he couldn't stop it. Great hands there from Stewart. On to Meninga. Now Bartolo had to come in there. He stayed out on his winger. That gave Meninga the space, and once you do that, curtains.
This try really is a reflection of the teamwork that the Canberra side have developed over the years, and Mal Meninga, he looks very pleased, and justifiably so.
Meninga, promotions manager, 30 years of age, the Kangaroo captain. What a great tour it was for him. And they defeated Great Britain to wrap up the Ashes in the 3rd test.
And he's talking about maybe going on another tour.
Well, the interchange is not going to harm him, Bill.
It's going to help players like him that can come on and have an impact in a game as they get on in years.
1 from 3 for Wood. Right out on touch. Try scoring has been the forte for the Raiders. And Matt Wood's going to make a liar of me. Right out on the sideline, he gets a fine goal. 32-6, Canberra over Parramatta. They've had a lot to celebrate in this match. Just about be asking for some double-time pay. Barnhill. Wood. Ericsson infield, looking for some defensive work. Now Barnhill takes it over. Wood is down there in the background after he played the ball, injured. Still not up. Gaffey. Gaffey loses it, but he did well determined to get there and hunt that ball down and recover the mistake.
But see, this is tiredness. Once Gaffey had made the mistake, Parramatta should have come up with that, but they couldn't even get the loose ball. You know, 6 against 5, they could get pushed off it.
Kenny for Meninga. Jason Bell's chasing. Little man on the big man. Meninga running across field looking for support. He holds it up for Gale. Gale puts the foot down, gets it back. Lazarus has broken from the scrum to set Bruce Stadium alight. Winners can certainly smile, but just how did he get there from the scrum? The intercept for Meninga. Now Jason Bell did his best to try and bring him down. Meninga heard the calls of support. Ericsson's on the spot. He puts him off balance. Back for Gale, and we've got a front rower breaking for a scrum. They'll throw him out of the Union, even though he gets 4 points under the black dot.
Well, getting to Mal Meninga and pulling him down are two different things. Here he gets the intercept. He read that very well. He bobbed up in there in the centre of a pass from Kenny. Now have a look. Bell gave chase from behind. He got there, but he couldn't stop him. Now, Meninga was running out of puff at this stage. He looked for support, found it in the form of Scott Gale. I thought Scott Gale was going to put it under the black dot, but he couldn't get there himself. Got it back to Glenn Lazarus. He came like a bolt from the blue. I reckon we won't see him back for the next 10 minutes.
He's still out there. He needs the match fitness. Glenn Lazarus, only 25.
Timmy Sheens is punishing him for all those scones.
He worked off a few pounds, and now they pick up 2 more. Gale's into the goal-kicking role. 38-6. For tries. Coyne. Some exciting stuff for the home fans, but a real concern for the Parramatta camp. And the $100,000 question is, Wayne, where do they go from here?
Well, I really don't know where they do go from here, because if you put Peter Sterling back in this side, as we've already pointed out, I mean, he'll make some difference, but he won't make enough difference to win matches like this. I think they've got to question their buying policy.
Stewart chipping in that they haven't bought for a couple of seasons, Wayne.
They haven't bought for a couple of seasons, and I think that they really need an injection of experience into the club. Admittedly, they've got a great junior competition, some great juniors coming through, but they need to be taught some tricks by a few hardheads, a few guys that have been there and done that, and that's where Dennis Fitzgerald has got to open his purse strings.
They never bought one player this year on the internal draft. Not one.
Say no more.
It's showing here at Bruce Stadium. Greentree. Last tackle against the Eels. Lydiard. Kicked and trapped by Lazarus. 6 more tackles for Parramatta. Bad pass back for Laurie. Laurie across for Gately. Gately trying to straighten things up. Get something started. They were standing flat. Ericsson's not flat. He's coming on from deep. Ericsson busting the line. Gets the ball away well to Martin Seal, who supported and gets the try. Maybe they were caught napping, Canberra, but at least Ericsson showed some determination in running from deep. Lydiard got it away from dummy half on the MMI replay. The defence was standing back and waiting, and he looked as though he might have been wrapped up, but coming late in support was Martin Seal to get 4.
It's very hard to be grim in defence when it's not necessary, but Ericsson shows some of his forwards here how it should be done. He just took this flat one off the play, the ball, made a break, got the pass back inside to Seal, who was backing up. He was in the right spot at the right time.
Michael Ericsson showed plenty of determination. Ricky Stewart slipped over. That was his tackle that was missed there. Unfortunate for him. I don't know whether he needs to check his sprigs or not, but it was great to see the debutant, Martin Seal, go in for the try.
Nice little slap on the chin too for Martin Seal, the student, 18 years of age, standing in for Peter Sterling. One from one for Lydiard. 12 metres to the side of the post. Unsuccessful. But they've got to double figures to improve that scoreline to 38 points to 10. Meninga back for the kickoff, and the problem for the Raiders is that in a match like this, which could escape them, Bill, is to take on the Broncos.
Tough game next week for them, because even though they've had practice with their attack here, probably as far as the ideal preparation to take on a side like Brisbane, this isn't it. You want to be playing the full 80 minutes, don't you, before you take them on?
Yeah, they showed it in defence that they went to sleep.
And you want to be playing against 13 men as well to develop that match fitness.
A knock back, said Annesley. Crowd called for a knock on. Gately. Burrow. Going nowhere. And they were the pride of the rugby league in the 80s, Parramatta. If Sterling wasn't there, there was Kenny, Ella, Cronin, Price, you name it. They had some big names. Kenny. He missed the tackle. And all of a sudden, they're starting to think about try time again, following this run from Mullins.
It's obvious what Canberra are doing. They're just playing to get the ball back there. They're not 100% committed in defence. They're just doing enough, but as soon as they get the ball back, the lights go on.
Daly. Stewart. Showed it too early, and it was easy for Kenny to finish him off. Barnhill. It's a case of the Raiders are starting to look for things to make them happen. Parramatta haven't. Martin. Daly backing up. Kicking. And chipping ahead for himself. But Bell showed a nice turn of speed to get there. Laurie. Laurie will play out about 13 metres out from his own line. Bartolo. And you'll notice that they're just running one out. Gately. That's better support from Jackson. Seal kicking. And deep away from McDonald. Rare occasion that Parramatta have been down this end. McDonald taken just outside his own 22.
And the hard part now becomes keeping them there.
Well, they'll go wide quickly. Daly. Gale. Trying to catch them. Ericsson's got Gale. Lazarus.
For a man that's overweight, he has played very well, Lazarus.
Martin. Getting it back for Fritz. Just a quick spell for him here. Todd. Stewart. On the fringe of a ruck, he keeps it alive for Steve Walters. Coyne. Daly. Throws it behind his back line. Gale goes back for it. Fumbles. Last tackle. Meninga. Just puts it straight up into the air for Lydiard, who really didn't have to leave the ground like he did. There was nobody on him. And he leapt up for it. Wasn't required. You can see no Canberra players anywhere near him. The ball falling nicely, and he leaps into it.
When you're hot, you're hot. And when you're not, you're not. And I think Parramatta want to be anywhere in the world at the moment except the centre of Bruce Stadium.
The Eels have only had the ball for 7 tackles in the opposition half in this second 40 so far. Barnhill. Todd. This is just their ploy to work a way through the forwards, try and bring this defensive line in before they go wide. Lazarus on the fringe quickly. Good hands from Stewart to Daly. Ball bouncing and bouncing up for Mullins. He keeps it back for Stewart. Stewart dummies. Now he gets it over his head for McDonald. Crowd enjoying their ball play. Lazarus. Hit solidly by Gately, but he keeps on going, and Gately's the one that's hurt. Daly. Inside Meninga. They won't stop him here. Too close to the line. And Meninga on the inside. The cover just hadn't got across there. A tired 12 couldn't keep the line. They couldn't keep up with the pace that the Raiders have been playing. MMI replay. Drake caught out as he didn't plug up the gap back on the inside. And Lydiard again, defending right back on that try line.
There was plenty of razzle-dazzle by Canberra in the lead up to this, and they can do it better than anyone else. Finally, Parramatta just run out of numbers, and Mal Meninga crosses for the 4 points.
Took his time to put it under the black dot.
Parramatta very leg-weary here, not moving up in defence. Laurie Daly taking the ball to them. When you've got a 17-stone powerhouse coming at you, it's very hard to tackle. Just ask Glenn Lydiard. Canberra, another good try.
Meninga gets another one. Next in line for a goal-kicking job, Laurie Daly.
He wouldn't mind getting them all there.
Daly gets his name on the board. And this embarrassing scoreline of 44 points to 10. Seal, Kenny. Kenny out wide over the head of Jackson. Bouncing well for Ericsson, but he fumbles. Couldn't handle it. So again, it's that defensive Canberra that I know it's hard to keep their minds on the job. But they've shown that they've been missing some tackles in the last 5 or 6 minutes. Now Meninga's been replaced. McDonald. Takes his spot on the bench for a well-earned rest. Gaffey. They were feeble attempts. He had a man inside unmarked and he didn't use him.
Well, the last time he made a break, of course, he went on to score a try with it when he dummied to Meninga, and there he tried it again.
That occasion, Lydiard stayed on him. Now, Lowry did well to get on the inside. Tried the dummy the second time, didn't work. Paid the penalty. Drake. Nobody wants it.
Oh, that is awful.
Still plenty of time remaining in this game, but nobody really wanting to play any football in this Parramatta side. 44 to 10. Ericsson on the inside of this pass from Kenny. Kenny, no other option but to kick. He had no support runners. And Mullins just watches as it goes dead, so they can pick up 22 metres for the restart. Tim Sheen's a penny for his thoughts. He'll be very happy with their attack.
Exactly, that's what his thoughts would do. We've attacked well, we've shown our teamwork and our combinations, but in defence, we haven't been as disciplined or as determined as we'll need to be next week.
Coyne, especially with a determined Brisbane after being beat by St George. 20 missed tackles from the Eels.
That flatters them.
Stewart. 6 minutes remaining. Lowry. Mick Cronin. I really don't know what he's going to come up with during the week with this Parramatta side. Lydiard taken 10 metres out from his own line. Ericsson chased by Mullins. Put down by the forwards.
And you can't make changes just for change's sake. You know, if you've got better players in reserve grade, or you thought you had, you'd have them here in the first place.
Jackson. Headed for their worst defeat with Michael Cronin as coach. Is there another try? Martin. Grab ball and all by Bartolo. Stewart. Steve Walters knocked on. I thought he knocked on. He called it back. And this should end up in a try. Well, the pass is going to slow it all down. McDonald standing and just about asking to be tackled.
Yeah, they're toying with them.
Right up the middle. Jason Death, the President's Cup skipper who's out there. Steve Walters burrowing from dummy half. That is awful. I hate to say it, but that is awful rugby league. 3 defenders there. Nobody could stop Steve Walters out from just a metre out. The defenders on the MMI replay should have been down low.
Walters goes in low, you'll see it here. He drives with the legs. The defenders stay back near the try line. 3 of them there, couldn't stop one.
Well, in most of the games throughout the season, this would have been well and truly buried. But in this particular game, it's a try, and a try to Steve Walters.
Steve Walters gets try number 10 for the Raiders. And they're convinced that they've seen enough from the Raiders today. From out wide, Daly. Well, this will get a roar. No, it won't. It died on him. It was coming around, just shaving the posts. 48-10. Canberra over Parramatta.
And having been a coach myself, Cronin's the man I feel sorry for. Players can share a loss. There are 13 of them make up a team, and I don't think they ever blame themselves, but the coach is the one that's got to carry the can. The buck stops there, and I don't know that there's anything Cronin could have done that he hasn't done.
I've got to say, Billy, too, that I feel sorry for Brett Kenny. He's really tried hard right throughout this match. He's tried to inspire the side, but he hasn't had too much support.
Yes, Kenny's had to make a lot of tackles.
How many times have you been in this position, Wayne?
Fortunately, I've never been beaten by that scoreline, but I've been flogged in a few matches, and it is most disappointing. I mean, you just hate to go into the dressing room after the game to see what the coach is going to say, and more than anything, you hate the selection night on the Monday or Tuesday night that follows, because your name might not be there.
I think there might be a few names that might be changed. Stewart, Wood. Again, it's Kenny who makes the tackle. Peter Sterling. Just wonder what he'd be thinking about this performance. Kenny's made 15 tackles. And that's saying something for a guy who's standing at 5'8" in this match. As we watch Stewart just pick up some easy meters. Just like going through the motions of training, Bill.
It sure is. I'd never accuse any first-grade football team of not trying, but the word Parramatta in Aboriginal means place where the eels lay down, and it's a bit of an unfortunate connotation at the moment, isn't it?
Don't ask me to carry that on any further. Ericsson got a pass up, and Langford wasn't expecting it. He was into the open spaces, and it just came a little bit too late for him. He thought that Ericsson was going to die with it. Just got it up, and he got it tangled around near the knees.
On the positive side, Graham, there's been a lot of good performances in the Canberra side, particularly from the young blokes, and like Nigel Gaffey, David Barnhill, particularly at lock. And also it's good to see Scotty Gale coming back to the fore in the centres.
Yeah, plenty of pluses for Canberra there is. Now, Jason Death. Man, the Canberra have got big raps on.
I think you pronounced that one Death.
Death. Gale.
He's a former Australian schoolboy. He's got good credentials.
Lowry. I wonder if Belcher would have improved his scoreline any. He would have had a field day joining into the back line. Gale. Daly. McDonald. Had a good game as Belcher's replacement. And the Eels really playing it out now. Really praying for that siren. But their prayers are answered. Down to 12 men after 6.5 minutes. They've been destroyed by the Canberra Raiders here at Bruce Stadium. It was a real barrage of tries from the Raiders. It was everybody jumping into the queue as they found some tremendous form in attack. Meninga certainly led the way. Look at these try scorers. Coyne, Wood. Wood got a double. McDonald, Gaffey, Martin. A double for Meninga. Lazarus and Walters. Wood 2 goals. Gale a goal. Daly a goal for Parramatta. Bartolo and Seal were the try scorers. And Lydiard the single goal. Embarrassing scoreline, 48 points.
Well, this Canberra side was certainly full of running this afternoon. A big scoreline, 48-10 over Parramatta. And certainly full of running was our MMI man of the match, Nigel Gaffey. A terrific performance when you look at the scoreboard. A few chances for Parramatta early on. They did go down to 12 men.
Yeah, well, Parramatta played very well, like early. They threw the ball around, but 12 men, it was a lot harder for them with 12 men, and we just took most of the opportunities, I think.
You found yourself in some open spaces, picking up a try.
Yeah, one, and had a bit of a shocker on the second time.
Tried the dummy once too often.
Once too often, yeah.
All right, well, plenty of points for the Raiders today and plenty of cash for you, $1,000 from MMI as our man of the match. Well played.
I'd like to thank MMI, Channel 10 and the teammates. Thanks very much.
Well played. Nigel Gaffey, our MMI man of the match, who also picks up 8 points in our Dally M Award for 1991. 7 points to Ricky Stewart today, who set up many raids out wide with those long passes. And Glenn Lazarus, who picked up a try also amongst the forwards, 7 points. And you can read all those Dally M points in Monday's Telegraph Mirror Big Rugby League Lift-Out.
Mal, I suppose another loss today would have been too horrible to even contemplate.
Yeah, go back to 89 when we lost 2 in a row at the beginning of the year, but we come through. But it was very crucial for us to win today and get 2 points on the board.
That was a big win, but as captain, was there anything that didn't totally please you?
Yeah, whilst it's fairly satisfying, against 12 men, you don't really consider it a big win. But I think probably 2 occasions when they scored their tries, they bit us down the middle of the ruck. So we've got to work on that during the season.
Well, after 14 seasons at the Parramatta club, no smiles from Peter Sterling today.
No, Wayne, disappointing. I suppose you look back and you'd like to know what sort of contest it would have been 13 on 13, but we don't use that as an excuse at all, and we're very disappointed with our display.
And how does Parramatta, Peter Sterling and also Mick Cronin go about picking up the pieces from here?
Well, I suppose you go back to what seems to be the root of all the problems, and that's our defence. Obviously, the amount of points we're conceding in our matches is the problem, and we just go back to the basics, we work away, and plenty of hard work. But 2 games into the season, we're not writing ourselves off, but plenty of work to be done.
Well, what more could Peter Sterling produce at this stage other than probably the understatement of the Winfield Cup so far here in round 2? Let's check all the weekend results for you. Going back to Friday night in that thriller at Penrith Stadium, 18-all between Panthers and Newcastle. St George with the upset over Brisbane, 2012. Norths getting away with Western Suburbs, 18-15. Manly getting their first points on the board with a victory today. Cronulla, well, what a disappointing start so far for the Tigers. Canterbury continue on their winning streak, 22-12 over East. Illawarra big winners over South. And that awful scoreline here for the Parramatta Eels, 48 points to 10. Now, the premiership table shapes up after round 2 of the Winfield Cup with St George, Canterbury and Norths all on top in that minor premiership role. Penrith, Newcastle, they've got the 3 points. And Canberra, Cronulla, West, Manly, Brisbane, Souths and Illawarra with 2 points and still struggling with the wooden spoon at the bottom. East, Gold Coast and 2 of the biggest names in recent years in rugby league, Balmain and Parramatta. West take on Manly next week. The Gold Coast up against St George, Penrith and Souths, Illawarra, Canterbury, East and Cronulla, and Newcastle taking on Balmain. Plenty coming up. Our MMI big game next week from Lang Park will be Brisbane taking on Canberra. What a tremendous match that is shaping up to be. And, of course, our Nissan match of the day will be on Monday at North Sydney, where the Bears will be at home to Parramatta, who will be praying that Peter Sterling is back on deck. Before all that, of course, tonight, Dick Smith Electronics Late Night League. Tonight, 10:20 p.m. Eastern Time. A unique look at our rugby league stars at play. They call the Parramatta Speedway the place of pace. I don't know what Peter Sterling was doing out there, but all that added horsepower made him travel much more quickly than he does on the rugby league field. Well, the final words and thoughts tonight from the Bruce Stadium. Parramatta, they were simply awful, weren't they? And it was left to the Canberra Raiders, who were at home for the first time in 1991. To provide all the excitement for a crowd of nearly 15,000. Look forward to your company for all the matches coming up next weekend. Until then, I'm Graham Hughes. Good night to you all.